at the end of this conversation. So I will maybe repeat as the recording just started. Welcome to When Learning Survives War, Solutions that Work, a panel organized by Phoenix Space. Phoenix Space is an educational organization based in the UK that supports young people from crisis-affected regions with educational opportunities, so their education can continue even when the systems break down on their more dysfunctional or when they need support. So this is what we do as Phoenix Space, and today's panel will focus on a specific program, which is a Gaza relief program that started last year and was focused on bringing students that got scholarships at the UK universities to the UK and providing with them of all the support from the organizing of their travel visas towards landing in the UK and settling and being able to have a regular life in the UK after arrival. And so this panel will explore how this program came to being, how it happened that this collaboration that involved many institutions actually happened to bring these Palestinian students to the UK. We will talk about how it is to create educational pathways for students who are aiming to study abroad when the actual war starts and education is disrupted. We will talk what students actually need after arriving from a conflict zone to a host country and what we can learn from this experience we just had, and that it can be more scalable and rather than exception in this case. And today I'm joined by my two colleagues, Kamil Museli and Abdallah Ramadan. And my colleague Caitlin Bell, she will be our technical host for today. She will be moderating your questions. And if you have any logistical questions during this call, please type them in the chat and Caitlin will answer them. And if you have, as I mentioned at the beginning, any questions related to what we are talking about, please also type them in the chat and we will answer them at the end. So Kamil Museli is also part of Phoenix Space, and he's been with us for many years, and he's been the coordinator of the Gaza relief effort and the education from education to livelihoods program at Phoenix Space. And he's himself from Syria, living currently in Amsterdam. And Abdallah Ramadan, he's from Palestine, and he just arrived to the UK and is studying at Queen Mary University of London, and was also helping with Gaza support initiatives, helping coordinating students on the ground and bringing them to the UK. So thank you so much for being here today with me. And yes, and if you can unmute them
Mm,
yourselves now, would be
Yes,
great
yeah,
so we can just have a regular conversation without muting and unmuting.
perfect. Thank you, Veronica, for the intro.
Mm. So let's start the conversation. My first question is to Camille. If you can tell us briefly how did this program came into being and what was the first thing you were after solving when the war in Gaza started?
Okay. Just to give a bit brief or background about the how it all started. It all started actually with one of Phoenix Space program as well. It's called Interstellar Scholarship. So while through Interstellar Scholarship, we had a couple of scholars, or let's describe Interstellar Scholarship. It's a scholarship for undergraduate student that they are high achievers, and they have an unconditional offer on a place in top 20 university in UK or US. With this program, we had a couple of beneficiaries or students that they held offers for the top 20 university in the world in UK, in Edinburgh, King's, UCL, and Imperial, that they was living inside Gaza, and they managed to have unconditional offer. They got the scholarship on place, but they couldn't be physically there because of there is like the logistic, the border, the documentation, and a lot of other problems come through the way to prevent them to be there physically. So that led us at the beginning to contact or reach out to the different parties that they were involved in all of this, and to see how we could come across the first obstacles, which is them being evacuated. So at that point, it started that way. We reached out to different party, or we decided to create an consortium of universities, other NGOs, organization that they are involved in, or at least partially in this matter, because we knew that there's different parties that each one of them are playing an essential role in this process. And we as a Phonics Space and other partner as well, we thought that it's better when all of us come together and start to think together how we will make that happen, how we will first advocate for those students. If it's not us, one of the a partner, or not one of the elements that could advocate and motivate the government to move on with the evacuation or putting a policy in place. Also coordinate with other partners regarding the logistic needed for those students to be evacuated when it comes to missing document, missing passport that, or expired passport, or the passport in different geographical place and it should be in another place. So also there is a different party who is helping in that as well. And then I can say that this program didn't come as a planned or a grand design program from the beginning. No, it comes from a problem and a gap, and then pieces of puzzles start to come together, and then we kind of discovered that this is needed. This is who could do that. Let's include them or communicate with them to be part of the consortium, because as I said, each part of let's say each institution or each NGO, each educational institution was doing part of this process, but no one was fully responsible or accountable, or at least have a full vision about everything needed from the university application till the beginning, then the English requirement or any academic requirement that it's needed, which just took us also on a backward step further than that we were doing at Interstellar, and lead us to a different program. I will speak about it later. And then during them getting the admission from the university itself, and then having a fund on place, and then being physically there. And during this process also, we discovered from the first, let's say, evacuation experience that the student needs to a lot of support upon arrival directly, because they just go out of Gaza with their backpacks and couple of stuff that they could buy it in Jordan. But when they arrive to totally new country, new culture, without a lot of, let's say, a lot of knowledge about the place, and without some of them that they've been left alone in some countries, some cities, that they don't have other Gazans with them or other Palestinian with them at that point. So they needed a lot of support directly upon arrival, which is the university also was part of it. And I can also speak in detail how that was kind of organized and arranged in a way or another. And then afterward, now we are in a phase that there is also a gap of academic support during this and after graduation support, but it's all started, or it's all began with an Interstellar as a scholarship provider, with addressing a different gap by need assessment, and then putting all this collective effort together to make it happen and make those students to arrive to the UK or any different country. And I can say even the scholarship program came to be exist because there is, as a Phonics Space, we were one of the first organization that fund the scholarship for undergraduate. Most of the scholarship was aimed to be targeted master and PhD. So, and there is no an undergraduate UK scholarship provider. And the last Tawjihi been done in 2023 in Gaza. So there is a gap of 2 years that they got their Tawjihi result and there is no university, or at least there is some of the university and faculty that they're still a bit functioning, even a bit online, but with not decent level of education inside Gaza. So that created a gap of education for these highly achievers. And we said we wanted to find a way to those highly achiever students who got their Tawjihi in 2023 to continue after this 2-year gap somewhere else in top ranked university. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for this introduction. So maybe I'll try to summarize and for the people who are joining us and don't know this program very well. So what I'm understanding is on the beginning, this approach was more about giving scholarships, trying to find students who were admitted to the top 20 universities in the UK. But later you found out there are more students in Gaza who are trapped, who actually got admitted to different UK universities. And they have troubles living, getting documents, and actually sometimes some of them don't even have money to pay for their studies, right? So that's how this program was born, to support a
Yeah.
bigger group of students. All of the students actually who got placements in the UK and find the ways to get them either scholarship or travel or after arrival support. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay. And can you tell us what have you achieved so far in this program? Meaning, I think it started around few months ago, right? When this idea came that you can actually we can come together with different partners, start evacuating and helping people get to the UK. So what this program achieved so far in this last month?
I can say it's all started like as a collective effort and consortium since May, June last year. But the first evacuation happened in early September or late August. And it was mainly targeting Chevener scholars and others. So at that point, I can say so far, not we, when I say as a we, I'm not talking about Phonics Space itself, because again, it's a collective effort and a consortium. There is a lot of party that have been involved. There are humanitarian NGOs. They were part of legal assistance, advocating, or even communication with different university. There is the university themselves. They were part of this collective effort, and there is some governmental institution as well. So when I say we, that means we, all of us. So far, there is 6 evacuation happened. The first 5 of them, they were mainly student. The 6th one was student and dependents, because also this kind of changing in the policy that not just the full scholarship. So let me first talk about the policy of the UK government. So the UK government in August approved that just the full student with and a full scholarship that they could been evacuated. So you need to have an unconditional offer, full scholarship to be able to go out of Gaza, and the UK government will facilitate that. And this was the first policy that had been published on the Home Office page in August. And then later on, there is another policy after also a lot of lobbying from different parties that there is dependent that they are still in Gaza for some of the evacuated students that they need to come with them under some condition. And then there is this amendment in the policy or a new policy about evacuating dependent as well for certain categories like an Cheveners or a PhD student or a master research student. So this policy came in October as well. So I can say from governmental perspective, this collective effort succeed to launch or announce 2 policies that at the beginning was the main key for those students to be evacuated. Secondly, there is 6 evacuation happened so far. 5 of them was mainly student, and the 6th one was a student and plus dependent as well. We succeeded with, and again, we as a collective effort, that 109 students been evacuated and around 18 dependent as well been evacuated so far from Gaza. And all of them are fully funded. As a Phonics Space at the beginning, as you said, we had a specific number of students with the full scholarship. So as a Phonics Space with a help of our donors, funders, and our kind of different NGO that help us in the networking as well, we succeeded to secure or increase the number of the scholarship that been provided through us as a Phonics Space to reach the 29 scholarship for Gazans among all these 109 students. So we fund through us 29 scholars that have been evacuated from Gaza. We succeeded to do a post-evacuation support directly by Phonics Space and our partner as well. And we can go also in more detail regarding this specific point later for all the evacuated students that they show interest in these post-evacuation support. And we succeeded to build a really concrete network of NGOs, institution, education institution, governmental people, and students themselves, which is I can say that this is my most proud point, that I am really proud in the process that we created this network that bit concrete and lead us to have a proper and better vision, and now still using this network to do a proper need assessment for the student themselves and the situation in total. So this is also achievement I could say was kind of really helpful in the previous period and the coming one. So and the relationship with the most universities in UK. So this is the achievement that been happened so far.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for this introduction. I'll now have some questions for Abdallah, also for you to explain a little bit like how did it start for you, meaning what you were doing before this program started, what you were doing maybe before the war and genocide started in Gaza, what were your educational plans, and what happened after the conflict started there and how it was disrupted.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Veronica, and thank you, Phonics Space, for inviting me to share my experience and also the perspective of other students. Okay, for me, before the war, I have been graduated from the Al-Quds University with a medical degree, and I managed to finish my internship year. So I got my license just 2 weeks before the genocide, and after that, directly I going to volunteer in the hospital, in the orthopedic department at Al-Aqsa Hospital. Before the war, I have two plans. The first one were planning for applying to scholarships to have a master degree, even in the UK or the US. The other one, preparing for the exams to getting the license, the medical license to work as a doctor in the USA. So those plans needs a lot of dedication, a lot of working, a lot of studying. I was doing literally 10 hours of studying every day. And my license exams were supposed to be in November in 2023, but the war has been started 1 month before, so all the plans has been cancelled. So during the war, I was also still trying to study, to do memorization, to continue the process, but that was so challenging, you know. And still applying for scholarships, and I got two scholarships, one in the UK and the one in the US. The first one was a Chevening scholarship, and the other one was Summer scholarship at Johns Hopkins University. Me, as like many other students, the education and professional development has been suddenly suspended due to the circumstances that literally beyond our control. And all the students, they have a clear vision, they have a clear goals for their academic future plans, for their vision in their life, but everything has been on hold. So basically, as a students, what connects us is the determination to continue our education, and also when it's possible, and also when you use it in a meaningful way. But sadly, everything turns from the future planning to the survival mode during. Yeah.
I'm really sorry to hear. And for me, these stories, I'm really also moved by this fact that you and so many other students were able to come and study in the UK, not only because of the institutional part, like how much coordination is required from so many people, but also, first of all, for each and every single one of you who managed to study, prepare, and apply for those universities in those circumstances or bombardment, destruction, and all the suffering that you've been passing through. So for me, it's such a powerful story of resilience and continuing your dreams and believing in them amid such difficult circumstances. So I'm really inspired
Thank you.
by this. Thank you. Um, so I have another question now for Camille. So when did you realize that what's actually on the ground when you started thinking about education and evacuation of those students, that there's no model, or the existing model for trying to support students such circumstances does not work, and you actually need to organize? How did it come that you came to realize, oh, like, we want to evacuate those people, but how are we going to do it, and what do we need? Like, can you say a little bit more about this?
Yeah.
And
Regarding the
what were the
model,
biggest challenges? What were the biggest challenges in the beginning that you encounter?
I can say the model regarding evacuation, it could happen straightforward, but all the support related to it, and plus increasing the impact itself, was the main thing that I discovered immediately. This existing model will not work, because they have been some students that they already have the knowledge that how they could apply, or even though where they should go and what they should do themselves before they're applying for university and scholarship, which is, as we said, there is three. Let's start that way. There's three different type of student who know how they could apply and how they could do everything, and they could manage to secure scholarship and unconditional offer and everything on place, and they could come over their challenges when it comes to requirement and logistic on place. There is a student that they cannot, like, they cannot I can say come over the challenges when it related to English requirement or any academic requirement, or even in a financial gap that they already have, and a student that they are not aware that there is this existing program or this could happen. So I can say immediately I discovered that we need collaboration, because, as I said, there is a multiple parties, each one of them work on a piece. So for me, it was clear that to be able to have a bigger impact and plus cover all the needs from different aspects, we need to come all together to the table and try to plan for it strategically, and plus put our effort and not replicate our work, because the lack of communication was the main key at the beginning between the different party, from university, education institution, NGOs. There is a funder on a place that they were willing to be part of this, but if we didn't, or any of the other partner didn't reach them, we couldn't bring them to the table and be part of this process and then increase the number of the scholarship. So since the beginning, I discovered this existing model will not work, or at least will work on a bare minimum, but there's still some aspect that the student needs support to, and plus we could increase the impact itself in case that we develop a proper structure model that we need to work on. So I can say since the beginning, but it took some times because, yeah, for many reasons, some of them that related to the different parties that they have not clashes, but lack of communication. Let's use it that way. Lack of communication. Some of them, they weren't, let's say, have an organization way of structuring or formalizing the relationship with the university themselves to be able. Some of the university didn't know that how they could formalize the relationship with us as an NGO and then help So I can say the lack of knowledge, lack of communication was like the main two challenges at the beginning. And even for us, like I can speak about myself. I had a really big lack about some aspect, and I had to go and communicate and educate myself, and then come back and see and not just about lack of knowledge. Sometimes we could just like a drop and a suggestion that could work, and we didn't know that could work, and that lead us to a solution, to be honest. And but the two main challenges was the lack of knowledge and lack of communication. And when we bring all of those together, we kind of learn from each other, and we enhance the communication between each other and the student and the institution, and that's lead us to a proper structure. And again, that lead us to proper need assessment, and that lead us to a proper plan, I can say.
Mm-hmm. So maybe if you can just briefly, not maybe go into much detail, but just to tell us the structure. So what needs to be in place for mobility of student who is in a war zone to arrive to the destination and be integrated? What are the pieces, what are like the puzzles that you discovered are needed to happen for this to be successful?
Perfect. So I can start from the early beginning, before they apply to the university. So the first step is they know what they need, and plus they know what's the option of university that they could apply for with their qualification. So this is first, because as I said, the Tawjihi itself doesn't recognize, especially for undergraduate. Like lucky undergraduate student who will apply for a master because it's easier for them. But I'm speaking about like the biggest challenge for me is the undergraduate student that they wanted to go directly to undergraduate study. Like the student with Tawjihi, they go to undergraduate study because Tawjihi it's not recognized by the UK government or even different type of governments. So they need to have an equivalent test or different qualification to be able to apply, like the SAT, like ESAT, like the MUA, like level A exam, which doesn't exist in Gaza. Like the normal education is not there. So they need to have this. So I can say that we discovered that the student themselves need the support of being able to do this exams from the first place, let's say, partnering with different party to be able to let them or have the center accept, like person who accepted with a partnership with Cambridge to let the student to do these exams inside Gaza in a center that we partner with. So we had to also facilitate the logistic related to the application first. So we facilitate the application process, which is the first challenge for the student, and plus the requirement related to the English and everything else without the details. And then afterward, after gaining the condition or unconditional offer from the university, the second challenge is the funding or the scholarship on a place, because the main policy is they need to have a full scholarship on a place to be able to be evacuated. So they need a scholarship on a place, which is covering tuition fee and plus living cost for and plus IHS and a visa fee. So this should be put in place. So if the student have an unconditional offer with all the challenges related to it, plus the scholarship on a place, now the second challenge is the lobbying with the government, or at least extending the policy or having a policy in place for the next September, like the next entry, September 2026. So this is the third step that need to be done. And after that, or during that, also you need to be careful about all the logistics related to the student visa application, which is the passport. They need an illegal assistant as well while they are applying for the visa. So, and then with the policy and the legal assistant, they apply for the visa. They have their passport with them, even it's renewed or it's in a different geographical place, should be moved to the evacuation point. And then the third step, them being evacuated, which is this stage the government took like big part of it. They organized everything actually with the Jordanian, with the Israeli government, with the Jordanian, and then to them arriving to the airport. So
Mm-hmm.
at that point, the government kind of doesn't have an essential rule there after them arriving to the UK airports. So here it comes the need for a different type of support. People welcoming them, receiving them from the airport, navigate them through the trams, the metro, the trains that they need to take because it's totally new word for them. And then making sure that everything as essential in place for them. Communicating with the universities, making sure that they have accommodation in place when they arrive. Their rooms are booked or their apartment are booked. There is, and it's available. There is a bedding. There is a kitchen kit, at least the basic for them there. There is, they know how they could apply for the GP, or at least some university already communicate with the student when they're in Jordan to apply for their GPs in case that they need any medical assistant or check when they arrive. They know about the mental health services provided by the university. As a Phoenix or our partner, so far we don't provide any mental support, but we make sure that they know that there is a different hubs that they provide in a mental support in case that they needed it afterward. And plus they have the essential academic support because, as I said, they come with the backpack, so there is no laptops. So they have this essential on a place. So this is, we did a kind of audit for what the university are providing. And because they don't have a bank account, so they need a bit in a cash with them at the beginning or vouchers. So also here, Phoenix Space and our partners stepped in to provide these small essentials at the beginning for the student to be able to do the first step till they got their step in from the university or the scholarship provider. And then afterward, after this essential, it comes that they need more about the educational support or a mentorship. And afterward, it comes the gap when we have 77 master students will be graduating in summer. So what's the next step for them? So here it comes the role of the network to think about from education to livelihood, what the next step for those students, what they will do, how the legal state for them in the country, and plus how the employability aspect and readiness aspect for them. So yes, this is the steps from them to be evacuated and ready to stand on their feet somehow, I can say. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Fantastic. No, it really seems when you're talking, it really strikes how many people need to collaborate for this to happen. It's like and how many small things need to be taken care of, right? And how many like things I wouldn't even think about, right? That you need to do for this transition to be more or less smooth and successful. Thank you so much for this. And now I would like to ask a few questions to Abdallah about this also, meaning I'm wondering like how you found out about this initiative. I know you were also helping while you were still in Gaza to coordinate with some other students who wanted to get out. How did it work? And maybe if you want to talk a little bit about this transition for you. You are right now in the UK, but how was it for you to when you found out this is possible that you can leave and what were the steps you were taking?
Yeah, of course. Actually, the whole process were engulfed by stress and hope. Okay. Where you being 2 years with zero academic achievement, and this is your only chance to survive the war and also to survive your academic life. So it was so challenging, but at the same time, you still have the hope that something might happen. So when it happens, there is another kind of emotions came where pain and guilt, okay, were present throughout the process, where you were lucky to have a survival ticket while your family is still there in danger. Especially for me, my evacuation were in the first cohort where the famine were still ongoing and also the genocide were still happening. So so you were between two decisions, like leaving your family alone or surviving yourself. So it was quite challenging. And also the other students who have dependents, who have siblings or their wife. So it takes courage, honestly, to take such a decision. because we all in Gaza knows there is no horizon what is going to happen in the future. But what makes things quite good, which is when we arrived here like 2 weeks after the ceasefire has happened. So this makes things quite better. Um, Also, one of the most difficult challenges that were during the process, one of them were the visa barrier, okay, because the visa center in Gaza has been bombed. So this makes the process much more longer. This brings more delays to the visa, to the documents, so everything, and also brings uncertainty. Um, when when we finally managed that, when we shared so many documents with the government regarding how the evacuation mechanism, how to handle the fingerprints, we were trying to get a predetermination request for the students to do the prints in different countries, but then the government brings their own policy on that. So that was really good, but still the process where were surrounded by the bureaucracy of the government, where we were pretty sure that such a decision can be happened in less time. Like there wasn't a need to take 5 months until they make this happen, but eventually it did. Um, and even the way from Gaza to London wasn't that easy, especially in the transition inside Palestine. Um, we have to go through the security check and the whole process where we're completely unsafe, okay? And also, while we are in the way to Jordan, the government didn't give us any kind of guarantee. They were always saying nothing were guaranteed, especially when it comes to the security check and this stuff. So we still living in a dream, especially when we're in Jordan, until we arrived to UK. So this is for me, honestly. When we arrived to UK, we realized, okay, yes, mission accomplished. So yeah, it wasn't easy at all, but at the end it happens. And the other point was the long period from telling us about the evacuation and the official decision until the evacuation it happens. It takes like 1 month. For me, I have been informed by the 19th of September of no 19th of August, okay, about my evacuation, but it technically happened in the 17th of September. So it's almost a month. You are waiting day and night. You're still not sure if you will be evacuated or not. And for me, my program has already started in the 1st of September. So, and in on top of that, there is the uncertainty if you are still alive or not until the evacuation will happen. At that time, things were going so crazy in Gaza. The bombing everywhere. You don't know, like, if you went just to bring some stuff for your family, you would be survived or not. So, despite all those challenges, we find a space for hope, and eventually we are here and continuing our studies.
Wow. Thank you. Wow, I mean, I have no words really to say about that. It sounds really like a lot of hardship and a lot of as you said, lots of uncertainties. And I think requires lots of courage and strength to keep on going, even from the first decision of, leaving for your family right behind, even, and you are not living in a safe space. And it just sounds like almost impossible choices to make for a human. And
I do remember me and my colleague Suha, while we working on this campaign and coordinating between the students and the other parties like Phoenix Space, GSI, Gaza Scholarship Initiative, the Palestinian Embassy. Like some days we were working like 10 hours, 12 hours after I checking my screen time on my phone. that was insane. Like, and I was amazed by myself, like how I'm working all these hours and you only have few calories every day.
Mm.
But as I said, um, that was the only hope, not for us, but also for the whole students. It was opportunity to brings a new life for many students who will come back to Palestine with hope also and impact.
Mm. Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
And after you said like the crucial point was the moment when you actually landed, I guess, in the UK. When you landed in London, you knew, okay, you are safe and you are here, right? Nothing can backtrack this. Like, on the other steps, you didn't know anything could stop you, right? As you said, even the government was not being able to guarantee. So how is that for you? Did you feel like any relief? For sure you did. And like, what made you feel supported in those days after you arrived? What were the most important like things that you think contributed to you settling in the first days after your arrival?
But first, I want to talk about the transition, okay,
Mhm.
from Gaza to London, from a place that totally distracted to one of the leading capitals in the world. Honestly, it took a while until we do an adaptation to this totally new environment, like navigating the city, using the public transportation, the shopping, and even managing the daily tasks, you know. So it was completely overwhelming when
Mm.
you have to manage this a new place, new people, a new street, like even watching people living their own life normally while you were under 100 stress all the time and you just only looking for survival and the emotional adjustment as well, you know, when you were living under constant fear and now there is no drones, no airstrikes. And honestly, for me, it took me 3 weeks until I used to hear the helicopters in the sky without feeling there is a danger is coming.
Mm.
Um, Also, one of the things where trying to balance between being concerned about your family in Gaza and your academic it needs and to follow up with your academic life. So I have tried to do some kind of disconnecting, but at the same times you are worried about your beloved one. So it wasn't easy to make that balance. But honestly, what makes things easier when we arrived here, actually the community support and also the advocates from the universities, and this played a very crucial role in helping in settling in, and also having people who understand our situation and actively supported us making the transition less overwhelming.
Mm.
Um, Adding to that, the financial support that has been provided by different organizations, especially Phoenix Space. Okay, we know that the students are coming on a full scholarships, but at the same time, the school has been arrived with nothing. There is so many needs. They are lacking like clothes, maybe electrical stuff. So having vouchers, having this financial assistance makes things like make you focusing more in your settling in rather than stressing about your financial stability, especially for the first couple of months. Um, and for also the support that has we have been received from the GSI, the Gaza Scholarship Initiative in Jordan, and also when we came in here in the UK, where they making our stay in Jordan very easy, honestly, where they supporting us in bringing essentials, supplies, and also clothes. The other thing was the welcoming community in UK. For example, for me, the students here in my university were very welcoming, very supportive. They helped me to finish some, administrative stuff in the university. For example, because I've been arrived very late, so I have to apply for extensions and also other administrative stuff in the university for um, getting back to my original program. The university has changed my program, so I were going through a long process to get back to my program and also getting access to the modules and catching up. So the kindness and the openness of those people makes things really, really better, especially in the very difficult period, the first month. Yeah.
Mm. And how about the community? Like, do you have, because I know there were, as Kamil mentioned, there were 6 evacuations, so there seems to be like a community of students
Yeah.
who came together in the same period for the same purpose to study in the UK. Do you feel like there's a community, and is it also supportive for you to have students in similar situation?
Yeah. For the students, as you said, we have almost 6 cohorts of evacuation, and we are all connected on groups on WhatsApp. So we are literally in daily touch. But at the same time, there were some gatherings for the Palestinian students. So it's really nice that you stay in contact with the students who experiencing like you, and they pass it through what you have passed, and you are sharing your daily challenges. So all of that makes sense. Okay, like I'm not alone, and this honestly reduced the feeling of isolation.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this. Thank you. So maybe now some questions for Camille. Like, I'm curious, what's the difference, because I think what's the difference between somebody just trying to evacuate a person from Gaza, right? Like, I have a friend, right, and I want them to be able to come to where I live, for example, in Poland, versus someone who is a student, so he's already got the proposal from university, right? Like, what's the biggest difference, and I think there's an advantage, I would imagine, right? If you are a student, or if you get, so it's like it's more probable that you can get evacuated, right? And what's the difference legally, but also processually, what's the difference for you in those cases?
Okay. So regarding the evacuation from Gaza, especially through the Israeli government, just happening on the governmental level. So the government should arrange or organize the evacuation. So in the case of the student, like the student in Italy, the student in UK, there is a different governments that they were the one who's arranging it. So and plus we do have a different category of people being evacuated. So we do have the student category, and we have the medical health category for, which is also split under 2 different level. One of them, it's a general health evacuation for everybody and a critical kind of health situation. So there is a list for it, and there is a children health evacuation, which is exactly for the children's been affected by the war, and one of their parents also will be evacuated with them. And regarding the health kind of evacuation, mostly it's been coordinated between WHO, World Health Organization, and plus the governments, because there is a multiple government that they are doing this evacuation. And for the student evacuation, it's a bit different because each government dealing with this evacuation on special way. Like, we do have a government that they are publishing the policy, they having the category for the student, and they are arranging the evacuation themselves. As the UK, there is other governments that NGOs and different institutions, they are arranging the evacuation with the approvals from the Israeli government by having the COGAT, and then the Jordanian government by approving them to be evacuated at their land, or even a third country. But yeah, so far we didn't see anyone been evacuated in the student category to Egypt. And third, the government itself that also giving approval and a visa approval for those students. As an example, like the I can say the Malaysian government, which is so far it's going too slowly in case it wasn't been organized by the government themselves and was organized by an institution or humanitarian entities. So I can say this is the main difference between those two. And back as an example for your case, in case that there is someone inside Gaza, let's say a friend of you, and you wanted to evacuate them to Poland. First of all, they need to be under one of these category, even health category or student category, and then you need to see if the Polish government are willing to coordinate that. In case yes, that could expedite the process. So they need to be in a policies in place and communication between Poland and the third country that the person need to be evacuated to and the Israeli government. And they need, or in case that the Polish government wouldn't do the evacuation or coordinated, they need to have an approval from the Polish government, and there is the third party. And this is likely to happen, like not guaranteed 100% as the scenario of the UK government or the government organizing it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for answering this. One more question I have, and it's to the both of you. Like what I'm wondering about is like what you, Abdullah, you shared like about all the stress of preparing and being in a war zone, stress of preparing for living and uncertainty. And then you arrive to UK and you are late for your studies, as you said, right? You need to catch up. There's lots of bureaucracy to do. So there's another stress. You didn't even have a chance to recover from a previous stress or kind of integrate what happened to you, and you still have a lot of other pressures coming on you. And how do you deal with that? So the question for you is, how do you deal with that, and what's supportive for you in this process? And then maybe Camille, you could talk also more about what is being organized for those students to help them, because even what you mentioned, like some of those students just started late university, and in a few months they need to really worry about extending their visas, for example, if they're masters. So it's really lots of stress also after arriving, right? To be able to sustain their newly gained status and newly gained safety. If you wanted to address this, any of you wants to go first?
Yes,
you can go up. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kamil. As I said, the transition wasn't completely easy, especially I know most of the students, they are traveling for the first time, and bringing them from Gaza to London without any assistance, that will be 100% very challenging. Like any students who have already traveled before find London a quite different place. So just imagine for students who travel for the first time after 2 years of genocide. So as I said, honestly, the financial support, the community support, and also the gatherings that happened for Palestinian students, and also staying in touch with other Palestinian students were very, very helpful. Especially many of them have arrived late to the starting date of their programs, so they have so much to catch up. And it's really, really challenging when you just need a time to breathe, okay? But you found myself chasing the deadlines for the assignments, and literally you have tens of lectures. For me, when I arrived, I have 30 lectures, 3 assignments is due to the first week, and 10 coding labs to do. And 1 week ago I was in Gaza, just waiting for the evacuation email, surviving. So without the support that has been provided by all the charities, organizations, local people, that will be so much stressful and challenging for people, for the students. Yes, Camille.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
I just want to say, I'm crossing my fingers that that it works for you, and find time. You also find time for integration and for rest amid this crazy.
Because honestly, me and other colleagues and everyone were pushing for the evacuation. We were trying to evacuate the students like 1 month earlier to their programs, So they have time to breathe, they have time to catch up, to explore the city, at least to have a rest, to sleep probably, to eat well before starting their programs. And I think there was also fund for covering the students for almost two months before, if they arrived here like earlier, but the government decided the other way, which the decision were very, very late. Yeah.
So what's it's a question also for Camilo, like in this sense, but also for you, I think. So what's how we can work with that? Is there any way should we start earlier with next evacuations, knowing that it's just such a delayed process? What are the lessons we can learn from this process to make sure that this is not such an intense experience for a student to come?
Yeah. Can I go a bit, or do you want to comment on something before I go? Yeah. Okay. So I can go. Back, like just to some points that Abid mentioned it through his answers, get me back to the main problems that I need to address, that we face it, and then go to the kind of what lead us of this, like the support needed, and what's the lesson learned. So, but the main point is the speed against compliance. So we were running again, like all the time against the clock, and some of us was working 14 hours per day, 15, and just to make sure that this is happening, or as I said, increasing the impact. Because for the first cohort was obvious, they have everything on place for them, and then that they've been evacuated. It comes late, the policy from the UK government, but for the others, we were running against the clock, literally. So we were trying to put a fund on a place, or at least find a funder to be able to cover those scholarship. And here we went through a lot of compliance processes with the donors themselves, because it's right, sometimes could be straightforward, but it takes too much time for due diligence, proposal writing, and all the organizational stuff. And we don't have time for it. We just have a university set the start date at 15th of September or end of September, and we needed to find a fund for those students before that date. So we were running against that. And then that led us to push the university to change some policies or some start dates. And they were super collaborative. They pushed it till mid of October, end of October. We pushed again till the end of November, end of December. So we were trying to play with the different parts to at least to be able to fit that compliance from university compliance aspect with start date of the program, and the governmental compliance aspect that it should be starting before end of December, so January entry doesn't count, and the donor compliance to pass their due diligence and be able to provide the scholarship to this student. So the date we couldn't at this year or the previous cohort, we couldn't kind of say we managed to at least bring them before 2 months to integrate it, but it's for sure a need. And now we can see it more. And that lead us to the pressure that Abid mentioned, the academic pressure with all these lectures, assignments, because there is some of them arrived after 2 months of the original course started, right? On their cast said at the end of November, but all the other students started mid of September. So they miss a lot. So also here we kind of had to do another challenge, which is, as I said, the cross-sector alliance between different parties, and we had to organize with the university how they could provide an academic mentorship or support for them, or create a changing in the system. Some of the students, they didn't start their first semester module. Some of them, now, they will do it in the summer. Some of them, they don't have the exams at the end of December. They will use the Christmas holiday and do it later on. So the university were a bit flexible. We kind of exchanged the experience from different university. We connect them together to change experiences, how they could enroll the student early and do online enrollment. They could start when they are still in Gaza, some assignment and tasks. And then, so we were trying to exchange experiences between different university, how they deal with this situation. But now we know for sure, in case of something happen, what we will, or what the things that it should be done. So in my opinion, the things that the student needed for sure, or they kind of helped in them being easily integrated. The first one is essentials providing. As Abid mentioned, when there is essential being provided to them and everything was a bit organized at the beginning, they didn't need to stress about it or have extra stress thinking about this financial burden at the beginning or what they should do before they open an account, or they will arrive with the accommodation, or they need to search for a room, or what's the bedding situation, etc. So the essential was a crucial element. The support provided by the universities and the communities and the societies in different universities. So also that was kind of part of the plan, to them being academically supported by the university with the academic mentor, or even different communities, and socially supported by feeling welcomed. And then later on, also Phoenix Space step to support the social event that they may have it, or they may bring all those students together. So this is also needed. And again, which lead us to the later support, which is a support on a mental level. What's the or who's the service providers that they needed? And I do believe, as you said, when they will graduate in the summer, we need to put a plan on place for those, because it's just like 4 months is coming, and we need to make sure that they are ready, because when their scholarship will be finished, their income resource will be finished. They need to shift their legal state, and they need to be ready also to upgrade their kind of career and professional aim and target. So also this is what we hope that we could achieve as a collective effort consortium in the future for those. Yeah.
So I will just encourage, if anybody has any questions, we'll talk for some minutes, maybe 10 more minutes, and then we can address some of your questions. So if there are any questions that are popping up or any comments you would like to share in the chat, you are very much welcome to. And I'm also going to start gathering these thoughts together, and I have maybe a few more questions, but what I'm seeing, like from what you are describing, it's the success of this initiative specifically was based on this very distributed model of collaboration. So there are many institutions, partners, and because of collaborative communication, right? That when the communication was happening between all the people and the flow, this all things could happen. What I'm also understanding, another factor of success was the flexibility of universities in terms of starting dates, instead of how those students can lead their studies, when they can pass their exams, right? So I see there's a lot of willingness from the university side. Another factor I see is this willingness of governments to evacuate students, right? Which is happening, and the fact that they are actually taking care of this most difficult part of actually getting legal aspect of this journey taken care of, meaning that it's actually physically possible to get out of Gaza in this case, right? And that the government is willing to do that, and that actually civil society, as you said, all those organizations that participated in this effort, they were able to influence the policies. So I also feel lots of hope in that this also maybe not only can apply in Gaza, but we see if there's lots of public pressure to something, the government responds. And I think it doesn't only apply to UK government, but also to the other governments in Europe, right? That we can actually actively, as citizens, if we fight for those cases to happen, we can influence more and more students getting evacuated and getting these opportunities they are striving to met and successful. So a question for both of you: what do you think were the other factors to contribute that this became a success that can be also replicated in other countries or in other models where we have an urgent need to help students to get evacuated from a conflict zone to get in the host country to the university?
Sorry, can you repeat, Veronica? Sorry.
Yes. So my question is, what were the other success factors in this case that can also maybe be replicated in other cases of students' evacuations in future?
Yeah, and when you're asking about that, you're asking about UK especially, or with an
I'm asking
impact
about the
of
UK,
different?
but I believe some of them
Yeah,
can be useful also for people in other countries, especially in Europe, because I think
yeah. Okay.
it's relatable.
Okay, I can speak about the two perspective. The UK one first. Now the success factor is the structured way of dealing or putting in a relationship and formalizing it with the university or educational institution that they are the main element to give the offer to the student. So as an organization, as a human organization, UK charity registered organization, now we kind of formalized in a way with the educational institution to make it happen. We also formalized the way of the alternatives of the academic requirement and how we could provide them. If, again, when I say we, I mean we as a collective effort to the student that they're still in Gaza, and how we as a phonics space supporting the logistic of the student by taking those requirement. So another one as a successful factor. The third successful factor is now the experience that the university have it on a support system, the communities have it as a support system, and us have it as a collective effort as a support system for the student that they will arrive in the future. Now we know what exactly they need, what we should do, and how we could deal with it in the most efficient, fast way, let's say. So this is another kind of the experience itself we became a bit experienced in the support, especially the after evac support, and hopefully now in the after graduation support as well. So this is another successful factor. And for me, again and again and again, the relationship itself with the student, the institution, the different organization, it's mainly the successful factor as well. And yeah, and hopefully in the future also the relationship with the donor could be also kind of replicable and put on a place and a formatted type of scholarship with a specific university that could be obvious and we could know that for sure creating some kind of sustainability model that could be replicated easily. This is for the UK aspect. For the let's say broader aspect to the different country, I can say the process itself in case that could be replicated. So we are trying to replicate the model of the evacuation itself from governmental perspective and transfer it to different countries. This is what's happening. So you need to have the COGAT first. You need to get the Jordanian approval. You need to have the Malaysian to communicate with 1, 2, 3, or do it yourself and then get this paper from. So the process itself was a success factor as an experience. To the idea of the collective effort from funding, dealing, or even having this small deals with the university also could be replicated. And again, I can say like this is the main two things from the UK perspective and a broader perspective.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, Camille, I do agree. Honestly, the coordination and the collaborative work, okay, from organizations, from volunteers, from universities, and also members of parliament, all of this makes this campaign like many aspects, the political, the academic, and also the media aspect that brings a lot of pressure, and this pressure makes momentum, and then where the government feel there is a real need to take this decision. So, and there is a call from everyone, there is a coordination, there is a well prepared people who are ready to support the students. And so they feel, okay, it's the time to take this decision. So, so here is, I would love to thank everyone literally who was volunteering, working, and everyone who was in the position that take the responsibility to bring all those students here. So honestly, as I said, such a massive success cannot happen by individual one. It happens by a collaborative work. Uh, so and I believe this is not just like a charity work. It is a real investment on those students who have potentials, who have honestly leadership skills, who have talent. So hopefully all of them will bring back to Palestine all the hope and all the success.
Hopefully.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Um, I will be coming to the last questions. I think what you just said is just really like kind of summarize our conversation. But I want to give like if anybody have questions, please type them in the comments, and it will be coming slowly to an end. I wanted to ask you, Abdullah, what do you think is that people misunderstand about students who come from war zones? Like, what are the most common misconceptions? And then, if you if you could speak to educators or decision makers, what
Yeah.
would you want them to understand about your situation?
Okay. Okay, one of the main things that people assuming, which is they thinking that those students are refugees. And this were a very challenging part when we were talking with the government and lobbying inside the government about bringing the students. And there are some politicals who were saying, okay, are we bringing a new refugees to the country, blah, 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 all these things. Actually, those students, were fighting for their higher education. They earned an academic places, and they were fighting with international students, honestly, to get such an extraordinary scholarships, like governmental scholarships, or even scholarships that offered for a very, very limited and very limited students, and the students who have potentials in leaderships and potentials in networking, or even the students who have did massive achievements. So those students are not refugees, and they are just like any students in the world, but also they have talent, they have also exceptional skills. The other thing that people misunderstanding, which is believing reaching safety ends the struggle. There is still trauma, there is still guilt, there's still emotional pain that so many students um, still trying to manage that. Many of them becoming, let's say, used to the new life. They starting from, let's say, from zero, like forgetting all the things that they have passed through. But some of them still like holding this trauma, still processing their emotions. So completely the evacuation is not the end. Um, and some, I don't know, but some students told me that some people like mistaking educational disruption for the lack of ability, and this is completely wrong. Um, as I said, many students, they have plans, they have future aspirations even before the war, but everything has been interrupted of what happened recently, and by the violence that they were living 24/7 in Gaza. Um, and sadly, some I as I heard from some students, they maybe some academics, okay, they are not recognizing the difficulty of catching up academically. As I said, many students arrive very late, and this adding a pressure on them to catch up while they still processing their emotions, and they're still settling in, and the adjusting to the new system and new process. And honestly, even the educational system in UK is completely different from what we have used to in Gaza. Like in Gaza, it's mostly MCQ questions. It is assignments, and even the evaluation system, it's quite different, and you don't understand why you got this mark while you did as the professor what you want in the assignment. So this also brings some kind of challenges, um, and some of them maybe underestimating the emotional burden that students carry, and assuming students are disconnected from their families. Okay, some of them taking this as a coping strategy, but still other students, they concerning about their families because from what I know, many students, they supporting the family financially and their families are relying on them and and the other thing the students who have dependents there in Gaza, they absolutely worrying about them all the time and now the responsibility is completely on the other partner, so it's really challenging for them to make this balance, but some people are still maybe not understanding this point or still underestimating this burden that students are holding. Yeah.
Thank you. And maybe last question. Uh,
Can I
what
add one thing
Yeah,
about, sorry,
please.
can I add one thing about Abid? Because it's still like for me, it's super essential how the people think that the the student in the war zone are less qualified when the education infrastructure is like destroyed, or at least they have this pause in their life. I was shocked how many students in Gaza during this year were doing any courses by YouTube or any possible simple tool through their phones, and then they did their interviews with the university. They were the application, the interviews, the test through the phone screen. They were fighting to get there, and they are qualified. Like one of the students that's still touching me, and she's really fighter. That I interview her personally. She was in a tent through her phone mobile, and she was well educated girl. Even I consider her with her circumstances more than me, to be honest. So they are not less qualified student, even if the educational infrastructure was destroyed, or but their circumstances or the situation led them to have a lack of resources or access of educational resources. And this is how, as a Phonics Space or other partner, want to step in and see what's the alternative of the resources is. And for the evacuated student was them being transferred to different country to gain these resources of education. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for underlining this, both of you. I think it's really important because especially when you use this term evacuation, right? Sometimes it's really like, I think most of the people think, oh, refugees, right? People from conflict zone. But what we are speaking about here is evacuating people who are international students, people who gained their placements, as you were Abdullah saying, in the universities, in the competition with all the other students from all the other countries, right? And most of the time doing it, as you, Camille, mentioned, in the bombardment, in the tent, in the very, very difficult circumstances. So it's really, I mean, it's an incredible achievement on your side of the Abdullah and the side of all the other students to actually be able to do this, and and it shows all the talent and all the resilience that brought you to this place. So I'm really
The
glad to.
funny thing about this point, like when I seeing my colleagues in the same class and they are very stressful about the assignments, blah blah blah, and they don't know how to catch up, and I was feeling like, okay, you have started from day one in the course, and what about me? Like I'm coming 1 month ago, 1 month later, and I literally was in a genocide. So if like the course itself, it is challenging for any normal student. So how it will be for students who literally survived from unimaginable conditions and they already arrived late. Some, as Camille said, there some students arrived 2 months later to their programs. So yeah, it's not easy at all to manage and to adjust between the academic needs and also the emotional burden that students are carrying. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. We have some comments and some questions, so I would like to address them. But before that, like just one line, Abdullah, like if you had like one thing to say to a student that is trapped in a conflict zone,
Yeah.
what would you tell them?
Okay, so I'm a student and I know how it feels. Maybe I can't offer so many advices, but what I can say that I understand the fear, I understand the exhaustion, I understand the uncertainty that you are living through because I were in your position just a few months ago. Especially for me, my scholarship were from the last year and has been deferred, and mm I was stuck in uncertainty if I will be able to join my scholarship for the next year or not. Especially, I've been accepted in another scholarship in the US, and seems I was feeling okay. It seems the same fate will be for the both the scholarships, like deferral after deferral, deferral after deferral. So, I know how it feels. My advice just don't give up. When the progress feels impossible, please continue to help for education as an act of resilience.
Mm.
Um, and all of this delay is just beyond your control. Okay, you are doing everything. You're applying for programs, for scholarships, or doing the language exams. Um, so your experience, okay, doesn't negate your potential. Like what you have lived through, doesn't disqualify you from success or from any other students in the world. But sometimes when you feel you need support, you need someone who understands you, just talk to other students, like clean for a community, ask for support. There's no weakness in this thing, because the process will not be easy at all. And as I said, the certainty kills the hope, the uncertainty kills the hope. So just try to maintain your mental stability until it happens, and you join us here, hopefully.
Mm. Thank you so much.
Hopefully.
Thank you, Abdallah. Thank you, Camille. Caitlin, are there any questions? I saw there were some comments. Would you like to come on screen and share those? I'm not sure if there were questions. I saw there were comments.
Yeah, we have a few direct questions. This one is specifically for Abdallah, but also for you and Camille. What gaps do you currently see in the support available to Gazan students and their dependents who have arrived recently? Would regular online meetings, for example, weekly check-ins, be helpful as a way to stay connected? And then an additional point is, students will be graduating soon. How do we need to plan? What sort of network can we build to ensure students have internships, jobs, and experiences to build their portfolio?
Okay. Shall I go first, or you want to go first?
Go ahead, Camille. Yeah.
Okay. So related to my point regarding the student that will graduated soon, hopefully we are in a phase of brainstorming and planning. At the end of the month, we will have a structured plan for it, but there is a different aspect that we are focusing on, the legal accommodation and plus employability. So regarding your exact point, employability, now we are building in a network of organization companies that they could provide a mentorship, even though an internship or even an employability empowerment program to the student, plus with the continuity of the employability. There is some parties that they will provide career fairs to the student, and we are also trying to organize with the university themselves, because they have a career center each university, and to see what we could provide. Meanwhile, also could be a valid point to the network itself, different funders that they could be interested in, because some of the empowerment programs that they need in a specific budget, and we do have a large number of students, which is 77 of them graduating in the summer. So also that's part of the aspect needed. So regarding the network, we are networking with educational institution, career centers, organization companies, and places that the student could be gaining a knowledge plus gaining an employability contract or type of experience from as an internship. And plus, let's say funders are interested, and we can say also logistic providers that those fairs or at least those activity could happen at. So this type of network that we are trying to build right now, in case you have or anybody in mind, or you could recommend us to people that we could communicate with, or you see that they're valid to this plan that hopefully happening from the next month, please feel free to contact us at info@phoenixspace.org. Yeah.
Yes, yes, thank you so much, Camille. I want to comment about the gaps in the current support for the students, and also proposing maybe an regular online meetings. As I said, all the students, they are all together in such like a community on WhatsApp, and we are all communicating on daily basis. So I think everyone like feels he's part of family, and this is what we all need, because some people were offering like therapists, they're offering like dedicated psychological support, blah blah blah, but some students were not open for that. They are just looking for the place that they feel home, just staying in touch with the people who are understanding them, the people who experience the same that they have experienced. So our community on WhatsApp, it is an open space for everyone who needs any help, who needs any support, even emotionally, or even in the any daily task, or even any help from the shops from here and there, so they can asking openly. And most of the students have been feeling now they are settled in, but some is still struggling with some emotional stress, mostly because of their dependents are still in Gaza, and we are still working on formulating a new policy for the students who are not included in the current one. As Amir said, the evacuation policy has been expired by the end of the last year, so the work is still ongoing for expanding the policy to include at least the students who have January entry for in the UK universities. Um, like, and the last update that I hear, that there might be an announcement maybe in a few weeks for almost the next three months from January to March. So maybe the policy will be updated very soon. And also, as Camille said, there is currently a coalition of universities, organizations, and companies to provide continuous support for all Gaza students, especially after graduation. And I do agree, maybe weekly checkup, weekly online meetings, calls can be helpful for some students. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, we are coming slowly to the end of our time. Is there any other question, Caitlin, that is pending? I know we received many comments, and thank you all for writing extensive comments. And I will read them also afterwards. And as Camille said, you can all contact us at our emails, and we can continue this conversation later. Is there any other questions, Caitlin?
Yeah, there's a final question, and Amy's just asking when the next cohort of students will arrive. Or do we have any sense of when this might be happening?
Hopefully, yes. Yeah, hopefully, yes, it's gonna happen. There is a movement for some motivation for the government to do an Jan entry as well. But there is not, like, the date is not announced or even concrete. And we will try our best also. From now, we are focusing on September 2026 entry with offer holders that they have unconditional offer or even conditional offer about their requirements in total and how we could assess and then motivate to replicate this work in more, let's say, efficient and professional, structured way, and do everything we could do from our side and see if in case that could happen in the next September 2026, and one, I hope, earlier in February for January entry. But let's see.
Thank you.
Thank you,
So thank you.
Veronica, for hosting.
Thank you again for this conversation. And I just want to end with this, that I think all of us here, we are very happy to continue this conversation, meaning we are happy to share our learnings with other people who want to organize such assistance in other countries or for other groups from other conflict zone. We are also happy to learn from others. So if you have any comments or suggestions also how to improve this process, please also talk to us. So we really want to be part of this conversation. And yeah, and thank you so much for your time today and for your comments and for your sharings, Camille and Abdallah.
Yeah, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
that.
Veronica.
Thank you.
Thank you.